Hello class, and welcome to the intro for week 13 in module 8 on advertising in online spaces for IS 688. This is the last module for the course, so before we get into the actual lecture, let's go over some brief announcements regarding grading. The last assignment for your Medium articles is assignment 5 that's due today, so be sure and get that in. This is on recommendation systems. For grading of all these assignments, all the assignments except for 5, I think, over the course of the previous 4 assignments have been assessed. So if you don't have a grade for one of your Medium posts, be sure and reach out. Let me know if I haven't already reached out to you about making sure it's available on Medium. The next thing is about your semester project. So we've done the first 3 steps here. Now we're on to the virtual presentations, which are these 10-minute presentations, which will be due next week. In terms of logistics, so note that you have 5 core things to discuss, similar to your interim report. Talk about your problem and the data you've worked on. What are the major interesting contributions to this project? Remember, so this is a data mining project. You need to be talking about actionable insights and who will use them. Who are the stakeholders who benefit from these contributions of your project? What are the key ideas in your approach? What is important or interesting or valuable about the analysis you are doing or the mining techniques you're applying? What are the techniques you're applying? And then what did you learn from this project? In terms of evaluation, there'll be 2 methods for evaluation. So as with the interim report, all the students in the class will be assigned 2 presentations. I'm going to try and make sure that you get a different presentation than the one that you did your interim report for, and then you'll write a small summary and give a grade similar to the interim report. Then there will also be an evaluation from me based on the quality of your presentation, whether you hit the points above, the 5 items that I just showed, are you within length, how clear is your speech, and how nicely designed or accessible or informative is your presentation. Note that because there is an aspect here where you are going to be graded by your peers, you should keep in mind the comments from the interim review. Make sure you try and address those to the best of your ability, because if 5 of your peers identified these as identified a particular issue in your interim report, odds are they may identify it again in your final presentation if you have not addressed it. If you have any questions or issues about recording your virtual presentations, I've put some material in the assignment here about guidance for that. Be sure that your presentation is within length. I'm going to be pretty stickler about that. If you want to go over the 10-minute period, I have no huge issue with that, but I am asking for at least 10 minutes. The 20 slides and 30 seconds per slide is a total rule of thumb here. It's not at all required that you have exactly 20 slides, but in terms of the number of slides that might fill a 10-minute presentation, 20 slides should be adequate. In terms of who needs to actually present, if there are multiple people in your group, I don't care if one of you presents or several of you present. I have no real issue with that, with whichever you choose there. As long as the presentation is accessible and understandable, that's the main thing. And then after that, you'll have your Medium final report, which will be due on the 12th. So you'll have a couple of weeks to do your virtual presentation evaluations, get the responses from your fellow students, and then put together your final report, which will be a Medium post. All right, that's the setup for the remainder of the semester in terms of what you have to turn in. For this particular module, Module 8, in Advertising on the Web, I am using lecture from MMDS in the Stanford class. The main things I want you to take away are be able to define click-through rate in the context of web advertising. So when we talk about CTR and click-through rate, what does that mean for ads? And then you'll need to know that in order to describe how ads are placed. We talk about performance-based advertising or advertising options, which is what the majority of advertising in the web uses now. And then In that context, I want you to be able to define the AdWords problem. It's essentially how do we know what ads to show with what query terms or what searches that people do. And then lastly, how do we actually develop a strategy for connecting advertisements to particular queries? Given the AdWords problem that Google and many of these online advertisers have to deal with, understanding at least one strategy for this is going to be important and touches on a number of the different techniques that we've used over the course of the semester, which is why we deal with advertising at the end, because it has a streaming aspect and aspects for recommendation and matching. All right, so the lecture for that is already on Canvas. The remainders for next week, as I mentioned, your virtual presentation is due. Unlike the Medium assignments, the virtual presentation has a hard deadline on the 28th. So it'll be shared among all of the students in your class, just like the interim report was. And then you'll have a couple of weeks to do the final report. So if you have any questions about online advertising or questions about the virtual presentation for your final project or about the final report, feel free to post online in the discussion forums or reach out to me via email. Thank you very much.